Hello guys, my name is Bryan.
I'm Randy.
In this video, we're going to discuss about certain aspects of translation by analyzing a podcast called Serious, in which the host talks to us about one very serious question that was seriously misunderstood.
For our overview, we have first an analysis of Sirius. Then we answer three main guiding questions. First one is, what issues arise from translation? How does translation affect meaning? What is lost and gained in translation? Other words lost in translation? And finally, the conclusion.
Okay, so the first thing, analysis of serious. When you hear the word serious in Ethiopia, it actually doesn't mean what we think it means, which is solemn, thoughtful, or stern. It almost has nothing to do with your mood. When people from Ethiopia say something like, "Are you just talking to me," or "Are you serious?" what they really mean is, "Are you doing something?" Which doing normally means some kind of transaction, which is most of the time it's something related to something financial. So what happened, what they were talking about in the podcast was an instance where an Ethiopian journalist asking U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry during the conference, he said, "Is this lip service or are you seriously concerned?" It was regarding a very sensitive topic in Ethiopia at the time. It's I believe the topic was something related to having a lack of freedom of speech, and John Kerry, he misunderstood the meaning of serious. He said, "When I stand up in public and I say something, I try to be serious about it, and I think the fact that I'm doing that is serious." And from his tone, it definitely sounded like he was getting really offended by the Ethiopian journalist's question. And that caused the Ethiopian getting threatened multiple times afterwards. And it was all due to the one question that he asked.
And so, what issues arise from translation? So, the first issue is that in different cultures, some words may be spelled exactly the same, pronounced exactly the same, but have different meanings. And in podcast Serious, it's a perfect example, because as we earlier discussed, that the word has a different meaning, which can be taken offensively towards one person, depending on which language you speak. In this case, the English speaker was offended, and misunderstandings can easily occur as a result of that, and the words having hidden connotations. And the problem with that is that people will fail to get their point across due to the different meanings, which can cause trouble between two different speakers. How does translation affect meaning? Translation affects the meaning of certain words because there's no universal language, which means that there's no language that translates from one language to another exactly the same. And there's all the languages have different connotations and different meanings of certain words. And different languages use the same word but have different meanings when translating, which can be dangerous due to the loss of meaning in translation, which can be taken as like offense to some people. And the tone of the speaker may be also lost in translation, causing confusion between the two speakers of the different languages. And in this case, serious in English is acting or speaking sincerely and earnestly rather than like in a joking manner. But serious in Ethiopia means like a transaction or bribe that is usually financial.
Okay, so what is lost and gained in translation? The underlying meaning or intention of a word, which is connotation, that's spelt the exact same way in different languages, can mean completely different things, which will cause confusion, and maybe in some cases it can be dangerous depending on how bad the meaning in the different languages. And the attitude or tone can be lost because if a word has a different meaning, people will take the words the wrong way, which can cause problems, such as the Ethiopian journalist. The meaning is just different in different languages sometimes, and the meaning affects the emotion. In this case, the Ethiopian had a different emotion towards the secretary compared to the secretary's emotion towards the Ethiopian. As we talked earlier in the presentation, secretary got insulted by the Ethiopian journalists due to the different meaning of the word serious that is perceived, which changed the emotion they had towards each other. The Ethiopian had no intention to be offensive at all, but the secretary thought it was.
Other words lost in translation. The first word we found was gift, which we know in English is a present that is received like on a special event such as a birthday, anniversary, or something like that. But the cross translation for Germany and Norwegian is poison. And the problem with this is you could be speaking and saying, I'm going to give someone a gift, but people that speak German or Norwegian might be thinking you're trying to poison them, which can cause mass confusion between the two different speakers. And then angel, which we know in English is like a holy figure, like a godlike figure, but it means sting in Dutch. And this can cause confusion as well because they're just two words that mean are spelled the same but mean different things. And then carrots, as we know in English, is a vegetable, an orange vegetable, and if you and in Welsh it means moron. And if someone of that speaks English is trying to sell carrots and a Welsh person hears it, they might be thinking they're calling them a moron, which can be offensive towards the Welsh speaking person. And then in English, we know that one means like when you win something, like a basketball game, if you score more points than them, you won. But in Germany, it means stinks, which could cause confusion because if you're saying congratulations, you won something, in English, a German speaker might think that you are saying they stink, which can cause confusion. And then the word slim, which means like when you're fit in English, means unsuccessful in German. So if you call someone slim that speaks German, they might be thinking you're calling them unsuccessful, which is also be taken as an offense in German. And finally, slut, which is a derogatory term to degrade women in the English language, means end in Swedish. So if there's like a sign that says slut in Swedish, an English person might be thinking like, could be confused, which can also maybe take offense to it. And then this image from the Serious podcast, it shows two images that are exactly the same. From like, if you look at them, they're the same thing. It's a church with a clock and everything, but the colors of them are different, which is an analogy for what's happening in this podcast with the word serious. It's the same word, but has two different meanings for two different speakers, and people looking at this image could have different meanings.
Okay, so for the conclusion, we're going to be answering the three guiding questions in a simpler way. So for the first question, what issues arise from translation? Different cultures have words that are spelled the same but have different meanings. And for how does translation affect meaning? There are different ways of understanding the meaning of words in different cultures. And for what is lost and gained in translation, it'll be connotations, tone, meaning, and emotions.
Thank you for watching our presentation on the Serious podcast.
Thank you.